I was on a cruise ship with my family.
And tell us more.
Is this the one we read about in the papers?
Yes, it's the cruise ship, the poop cruise. No, it was.
I did
poop
all the
cruise.
poops.
Yeah, I did all the poops.
Little Sunny in Philadelphia throwback there.
Little fun little tidbit. Mine had maybe a little bit of a. It wasn't perfectly sealed, so there was a little stank in the bathroom in my cabin.
That's pretty much every cruise ship I've ever been
Dad's
on.
room was okay.
Really?
But anyway, yes, I went on a cruise. My family of 7 plus my dad, your dad, my dad.
Also, we share a
Our
dad.
What?
What? This news just
It was
in.
interesting.
I got 23 and
That's
me.
all I can say.
Tell
It
me
was interesting.
more about how I drink, because I want this to be shared with the
Yeah,
world.
you don't want this.
What is it like taking a cruise with 5 children?
5 children. Little
Under
children.
The only thing
11.
you can say is they had a great time.
Your oldest one is what, 11 now? Is that right?
10.
10. 'Cause
10.
My oldest is my
10 to 3
boys
is the spread, and they had a great time. My wife had a great time.
You know,
My dad had a great
all
time.
the movies that are made
They had a great
about
time.
family vacations, including a Christmas vacation, they resonate so much better as a dad.
Yeah.
Like the dad never enjoys these vacations
No.
with the family. The kids love them. When we were kids,
and the wife gets
all we
PO'd
remember-
because you're not enjoying yourself.
and they're having like, why are you so stressed?
I
Because
have
you're
to
making
say,
me do all this.
I have
and take
gone
care
through
of the
this
kids.
argument many times, and it's always like, well, we should do this vacation. I says, then it's not a vacation.
Although-
It's just a trip. It has become a trip.
I know it changed later on, but
it's important.
I know when we were kids, our parents were avid backpackers in Colorado. But Dad would set up camp for Mom, and then he'd go backwood hiking and leave us with Mom, and he'd just go into the woods, which I also
It
understand
makes sense now, doesn't it?
So that's why he came home for those relaxed.
Halfway through the
and Mom
cruise, I
was
kind of
stressed.
did figure that out. We were like, I don't have to watch you guys climbing this wall. I'm gonna go this way.
Watching
Dad, you got
climb-
the twins.
I think what's funnier about that is, again, I saw photos of your deal. I think it's funnier is that there was a climbing of a wall, but it was like 3 times a day, every day.
They get back in line. Do you know how many times they did one water slide a day? 18 times a day. Yeah,
You mean
no,
you didn't
it's-
want to watch everything? And every time, I guarantee you,
Dad,
there was a
look at
kid
this.
that was like,
It's hilarious
Dad,
'cause-
you got to watch me do this. See, watch
Yeah,
this. It's
exactly.
so
Stand
cool.
here and watch this. So that's this tower that they walk up the stairs, and then there's this little window. You see, zoop, and he goes by, and then he gets to the bottom, and he
I
goes,
saw you,
"I'm going
bud."
again." Okay, great. Zip.
Did you see me that time? All right.
See, little pair. of-
Jason, we have a history of these podcasts starting with Jason's vacations of some sort. He
Why
takes
is
more
that?
vacations than anyone in
What?
this world, apparently.
It seems
I haven't
like it.
taken a vacation.
I
in
like camping
3 years.
trips or
I
vacations.
second this. Jason has the
Write
easiest
it
job
down.
here and spends more time on vacation
First of all,
than anyone
I
else.
actually know why
John
he's so
took 2
stressed.
weeks this year. You took a full week.
And so did you.
Okay,
Thank you.
fine.
I
But
knew he was going to get angry.
It's the camping trips too, and that's
That's
I'm,
my
I'm thinking
weekend.
it explains why
you
you're
can't
so.
control my weekends, okay?
I'm saying I think I know why you're so stressed. Is you're taking too many of these family trips. You just need a day to say, all right, kids, go outside. Dad's
I've been
staying home."
indoctrinated to know that it's important, okay? That's what I've been told.
Who has told
This
you
is
that?
important.
So is
And
self-care.
why can't
It's
you-
very important
Why
to do
can't
this with
you
your family.
recognize that they are wrong?
Your children need experiences.
You need self-care.
No.
Jason. All right.
I'm subscribed to that other psychologist.
Why are we
that's
really
like,
here, guys?
Why are we coddling all of our children? We baby them too much. Let them figure out their own way. Give
The
them
hard
scissors
part
and
is-
matches.
Push them off the boat.
I'm
they'll
not
swim.
John, so let me say this to prove that I'm not John. The hard part is we grew up getting to go to cool places, and
Yes, it's true.
my wife is jealous and thinks that we have to make our children go to all those cool places. So I'm going to give her 1 a year,
Okay.
and then the rest of the time I'm not going to deal with them.
Well, we'll just know the week after
Why did
that
you say
Jason's
not
going to be
like
checked out.
John? What? I don't understand.
You refuse to take your kids anywhere.
I've taken them lots of
I
places.
refuse. I will not go on a.
My kids in a car? No.
No way.
Yeah, no. Don't take your kids on a cruise though. Well, I'm going to do it again, but
Are
because I
you?
loved it, of course. Just don't
And hate every minute of
expect. Don't expect to enjoy yourself on a cruise
If
with
there
your
was
kids.
anything I learned by watching your trip was I can never ever.
I made
do
this
that.
agreement last year with Shaylin, and I failed on it because this music store takes up all of my time. I'm going to try 2 vacations a year. One's a family vacation, and
I
then
like
one's
this.
just both of us.
This is
Because
what
I
we've
do want the
done.
kids to have those experiences, but I would also like us to relax.
Well, that's what I was going to
Some
discuss
point
with you
throughout the
guys.
year.
I think next week I'm going to take a week off. Just me and Kimberly.
Jason, you've been off since you got back, so it'd probably help if you did.
Well, let's talk about our
All right,
guest.
let's
today.
go back in the Wayback Machine, guys. We filmed an episode, a podcast with a good buddy of ours.
I was going to pretend like this is intentional and we do this all the time, but actually we forgot to do the intro and outro because we were hanging out with Steven and you guys actually
there
had
was
to
a
leave
concert
right
that night,
after.
yeah.
And we had to get content, so we didn't get to it that night. But this is the intro.
We had to get
and
Steve
the
back to
outro.
the bus because Sam Bush
that.
Band was playing in Springfield at the Gilloys
Yep.
Theater, and it was a great concert. I almost got beat up in it. I guess we'll go into that real
That's the
quickly.
fun part is
fact,
you can talk about things that happen after the interview.
Yeah. So we had a great podcast, hung out. Steven was in the shop. We filmed some more stuff over there. Then I took him back to the bus. They got ready for the show. We went, they got tickets to the show. I'm sitting, Jason couldn't go, but I was sitting towards the back. We had some good friends around us. And then halfway through the concert, this couple of guys got inebriated, I would say, and got very loud. One of them was sitting right in front of the sound booth and just talking so loud in the middle of the songs, and we couldn't hear anything. And everyone was turning around, giving them bad looks. Like they were turning, and I had my entire family. Like, my kids are next to me. Avery's loving Sam Bush. Like he's into mandolin right now, so he's loving it. And then I give them dirty looks. They just keep going. So finally, I just do the shh, and boy, that set them off. This guy,
frustrating, but that's a bad sound.
It is, but they got the looks first. The silent looks were there.
I think they'd rather hear the
Shut up.
Well, then those came. You mother bleeping! I'm gonna take you out back. Let's go right now. And then a bunch of us guys all got up, and I thought we were gonna take them outside, but we ended up just going to get security instead. Security removed them. It was all was well. The rest of the concert was, but you know, after that point, you're pretty tense for the next few songs. Like your heart's racing. You're like, oh boy, how's about
He was
to get?
fixing ready to go fisticuffs. That's what Jeremy.
I can take a couple inebriated fellas.
Jeremy's like, y'all want to go to Fist Town?
It's always the little guys. I could take them.
You ever notice that? Jeremy's the first one to go, shh.
Hey,
I wouldn't have done it.
don't interrupt Sam Bush. That's all I'm saying.
I would have said, I would have got up and said, dude, shut it.
That's Sam Bush on stage, sir.
Yeah,
you will
do
show
you
some
understand-
respect.
You know what I'd have done? Don't hit me, sir.
Then my kids are like half crying, like, Dad, why was he cussing at you? Because he doesn't love Sam Bush, son. No, it was a great concert after that. Enjoyed it. It was great to hang out with Steve before the concert.
Steven.
Afterwards, I was talking to their sound woman,
yeah.
and she's like, that never happens at Sam's concert. That's so weird.
Jeremy starts fights. You mean me starting fights? At
No,
concerts?
she was calling security before I even spoke up.
I got you.
Okay. Anyway,
she'll
I heard
back
it was a
me
good concert. I
was
missed
good.
it. It's not that
think
I
you were
haven't
doing things
seen.
with your
Here's
kids.
one more thing that was
I
great.
did have a practice with my kids.
Alan Mundy, we talked about this in the podcast. He was the very first band Sam Bush ever played in was with Alan Mundy. Alan kind of got him started out in California. Sam invited him up on stage, talked about his history with Alan, had Alan play a couple
Oddly
songs.
enough, he
Sharon's
did not invite
Almanac.
you on stage.
Well, I didn't have the history, but I'm
Poor
sure
Richards.
he thought
Poor
about
Richards. Yes. I'm sure he
But
thought
it was great to see Alan
He
Mundy
didn't
get up there.
really talk about how much he owes you.
No, I think he's
for-
embarrassed to give too much credit because everybody's like, "Oh, you're Sam Bush, you're a legend," and he goes, "Well, it's actually Jeremy Chapman that you should be thanking." But you know,
He's.
I know
inspired
inside that's what he's thinking.
He's the driving. He's the fuel that has driven my.
Already.
Yeah, exactly.
He's what
I've
keeps Sam
fully
motivated
checked
to
out.
keep getting
Yeah.
better.
Oddly enough, this intro has been longer than the podcast, so please enjoy our discussion with Stephen Mougin. We'll be
I
back.
know I did.
We'll be back after this break.
Also called a podcast.
Take me away, 'cause I can be the link. Let somebody was letting go and I can't have my way.
Welcome back, everybody. Stephen Mougin is here in the studio. You flew all
This is
the way
a-
here
this is a treat.
just for this podcast.
Of course I did.
Yeah, I knew you would.
Love you
get,
guys.
We couldn't get the internet connection to work for the remote version of the thing, so Steven flew out here.
That's right.
He's like, I'm not doing it.
He
in
was so
remote.
devoted that he brought the entire Sam Bush band with him and made them sit on the bus while he came and visited us.
Not entirely wrong, actually.
Sam, we're going to Springfield. You guys hang out at the hotel. I'm going to film a podcast.
That's right.
Pretty much.
It's great to have you here. It's not your first time, though, actually being here. It's your first time in the studio space.
Yeah.
But you've been to the shop, actually, Quite a few times.
Yeah. Years ago, I remember I brought some students by when we were playing out here when I was teaching, and
One of them we hired.
that's right,
Yeah, we
Corey.
kept one of them.
Yeah, heck yeah, he's a fine musician.
So this college came with a job placement program as well.
It's a really crappy job placement program. I mean, if anybody was going to I'm going to take a 4-year degree in order to sell guitars, that's just kind of a.
But just a little backstory to the people that may not know what we're talking about. You were the director of the Bethel band program or Bluegrass program there
for 3 years,
and part of that was you guys you took the students that created a band to different venues and performed. And this was maybe our second year in business, so the store was empty, and we had plenty of space to put a stage and put seats. And the band came out here, performed one night, had a really good show. And one of the members of that band was our own Corey Kirkland, the Goose. We didn't know him at that time. He was very quiet and shy, and he wasn't a front man of the band or anything. But years later, at the time, I don't think we even knew that he was from this area. But years later, we discovered Corey, and you guys know
I
him
got to
now.
say, I totally derailing this podcast. I knew he was from this area because I ran into his mom many times in Ozark Walmarts and stuff like that. She goes, "My son played at your guys' store."
Nice.
Corey's going to watch this later, and he's going to go, "Oh, Mom."
I should comment on this.
Nice.
But yeah, that was pretty
Yeah.
cool. I thought I'd fill the folks in at home while we're making those references.
But we should probably fill the folks in at home more about Steven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those out of the bluegrass world. Because if you're in the bluegrass world, you know who Steven Mougin
Tell
is.
him all
But
about
if
me,
you don't,
All right,
we've
Leroy.
known Steven for a long time, though.
Yes.
Well before the Sandbush fame and the Dark Shadow recording fame and whatnot. What did you
2002.
start? 2002?
Yeah, I
Well,
moved
you
to
didn't start
Nashville.
then, but
No, I mean, I'd been playing in a band up in Massachusetts, Western Massachusetts, where I'm from. I played there for about a decade, touring in a Thunder Mountain Bluegrass was the name of the group. Left that band to come down to Nashville to try it out, just see what happened, and I just couldn't find my way back home. That's kind of how it went.
Worked
The
out.
first year, though, that is 2002, the first year that you came to IBM. Because I remember you the first time I remember meeting you. You were pitching songs.
2001.
Was that 2001?
My very first IBMA was 2001, and I was teaching middle school and high school in Orange, Massachusetts. I was choir director, and I wanted to try to connect with the education bunch at IBMA, and knew no one, but just sort of went to Louisville, and I had some songs, and I was pitching them around. And
I remember
yeah,
that.
that's-
I think I still have
Oh boy.
a tape demo cassette. I remember you gave it to us.
Yeah.
And it was very funny because I don't know if you know this or not, but when you first came to IBMA, you had a similar resemblance to a young Dan Tominski. And a lot of people were coming around to me. I always thought this was kind of funny. It's like, do you guys seem like Dan is walking around IBMA? And I'm like, I had met this guy and I'd seen you and I was like, I don't think it's Dan. In fact, I got a demo from him. It's
Yeah,
not.
not
But
exactly.
there was a little hubbub that you had caused, which was everybody thinking that Dan had been walking
You could have
around.
worked off
IBMA.
that. You should have kept
I
that ball rolling.
should have run with it.
Sign
Yeah,
autographs.
yeah.
Sign everything
I had
DT.
hair back then, and I had a full beard. Actually, I came right out of college and started teaching, and I was just a couple of years older than some of the students I had, and so I just went full beard and tried to look a little older than I actually was, maybe. And anyway, yeah,
Worked out.
You were the replacement for Dan Tominski in
The
2001.
doppelganger.
and then
Yeah.
took on your own career as
Yeah.
in the bluegrass world. It was great though. I remember because at that time we had a booth at IBMA and you came by and we visited a little bit.
Yep.
Like I said, I remember getting song demos from you,
that's right.
and then didn't hear much from you for a couple of years. As far as we weren't running a lot of circuits, but then you started playing and seeing you even more so out there playing and doing a lot of stuff. So
yeah.
what was it like coming to Nashville?
Well, I had a job offer to come to Nashville and play it, and that was kind of the one thing. I never would have left Massachusetts if it wasn't for a particular thing. I would never have just gone, let's try it. But I was teaching this high school there were wonderful folks up there and very invested in what I was doing. And they actually gave me a year leave of absence to come try it out.
That's awesome.
Once I got the
So
job
your
offer.
chosen year of or did they just say, will you take Can you please take a year?
No, I told him I had this opportunity to go play in this band, and they said, all right, well, and I was basically quitting. And they said, well, we'll give you a year leave of absence. And it was super generous of them.
Well, that probably
And,
helps to make it easier
Yeah,
to make that
safety
leap,
net.
right?
Yeah, for sure. And then I got down here and I was around more players. In Western Massachusetts, there was a core of folks. And New England wasn't quite the hotbed of bluegrass that it is now. The Berkeley program was just in its infancy back then. And there are some great players that I grew up around, but there weren't lots of great players. And when you get in Nashville, you're like, oh, I'm the worst guitar player here. Which is great. You get to go meet people and pick and jam and learn. The fascinating thing for me was the difference in what tunes people were jamming across the country. Because the pocket that I grew up in, nobody knew Doyle Lawson material at all. I never knew any of it until I moved to Nashville because he didn't play up there. And back then we were buying stuff on cassettes. You know, it's whoever you saw at the shows and whatnot. And he just wasn't playing at the festivals that I went to. And my crew, we weren't around that music for whatever reason. So I made up for it. I definitely made up for it. But it was fascinating getting to come down and play with other musicians that played different tunes.
So at the time when we first visited Nashville, it wasn't quite as commercial as it is now. Like right now, there's 4 different acts on a 4-layered rooftop bar. But back then there was those few venues, and you could see some of your heroes just in there playing. Like the music was going on everywhere, and some of the greatest musicians were just playing. You know, some dive bar down there, and it was great. It was inspiring to see. So probably a little bit different feel now. You kind of got to know where to go to see that music now.
I think in some ways you can still go see some amazing players. We're just older now, unfortunately.
And those venues aren't where we want to go.
Well, there's some of that, but also, you know, there's the East Nashgrass folks, Kyle Tuttle, all those folks. They're playing in town quite a bit, and really slamming with places like D's, which didn't exist back then.
Yes,
Station Inn is still a hot spot.
Yep.
And there are a few more things that are popping up that are more bluegrass friendly, which is a great thing. For a while, it was pretty lonesome.
Yeah. Actually, for a while, you're right. You're like completely lonesome. We had a span of it, and then there was not, and then there was, So it's good to see that kind of coming back. I was actually kind of curious to talk more about the New England scene. It's funny because you say not the hotbed that it is now.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I think most viewers that are going to be seeing this are going to go, wait, there's a hotbed of bluegrass in New England.
Well, it's a long history.
There is a long history. And I think that's one of the things that people don't understand. I know when I was coming up, it was at the end of the Joe Val era.
Sure.
And to me, that was kind of the blow up of New England bluegrass, wasn't it?
Well, I don't know. I mean, there's always been pockets, and you think about the folks that have come through bluegrass historically from the Northeast. Let's go Northeast rather than New England to include New York, Bela Fleck. Okay, you've got from Boston area, you got Peter Rowan. I mean, played with Bill Monroe. That's going back there.
Sure.
Dr. Banjo.
That's true. Pete
Oh,
Warnick.
yeah, that's right. I forgot he was
York.
from there. That's right. Yep. Yep. Absolutely. You mentioned Dan Tominski, Rutland, Vermont. It's been around, and there's been a real strong scene in Boston with, especially out in Cambridge. There was a radio show that lasted for a very long time that had a lot of bluegrass on it, and I'm spacing on the name of it at the moment.
I forget too, but
you know what I'm talking about. And there were festivals that happened, and when I was growing up, starting in the mid 80s, there was a festival every weekend. We went to a festival every single weekend in the summer. Now, some of those festivals had 4 bands and they just kept alternating, and we just hung out and picked, and they were very small festivals. But in the Northeast, you could find something to do literally every weekend in the summer. So it wasn't a barren wasteland. And then you had bigger festivals like what is now Gray Fox, which back then was started as the Berkshire Mountain Festival, and then Winterhawk, and now is Gray Fox. Pretty massive festival. There was one called Peaceful Valley Bluegrass Festival in Shinhopple, New York. You guys played there? Oh, wow, cool. That was massive.
Yes.
That was a huge festival, and I got to see all kinds of folks. Got to hang out with Bill Monroe one day when I was about 11, I guess. He was doing a workshop, and my dad and I, as usual, got there early. It was in the little cabin next to the stage, and we just walked in early because the camper was, a 15-minute walk down the field, and just hanging out there. My little mandolin case. I had an A model Kentucky and a chipboard case, and he walked in. Oh, what have you got there? And of course, I didn't know any better, so I flopped it on the table, hit the latches, and handed it to him. And then he played it for the entire workshop, which was like the coolest thing ever. I have a picture from that day. It was really neat. My dad told me later people were really mad because they wanted to see the old his old mandolin, but it left such a huge impression. It was one of those moments where like, oh, well, he can make it sound like that.
Yeah.
It's not the instrument's problem. So it was a really inspirational thing, honestly, that moment. And Shinhopple, New York, that Peaceful Valley Bluegrass Festival, I saw Jim and Jesse, the Osborne brothers. I saw Dan Tyminski with his brother's band, Green Mountain Bluegrass. I saw them there.
Those, but yes,
man, the Cardinals, so many great bands in that era. I really love the music of that era.
it is funny because, like you said, people don't really catch on to that. I mean, you're not even that far from such, if you want to go into it, Del McCurry,
of course,
Pennsylvania. I mean, that's not that much further out of that.
Bob Paisley in the Southern Grass with his son Danny Paisley. I tell you what, there was a thing watching those two right hands
together the
with
two
those
Paisleys.
giant sounding guitars. Oh my gosh, what a sound that was! And I got to see them a lot because you're right, it wasn't too far of a drive from the PA DC area. And we saw the Johnson Mountain Boys a bunch because they would come up and, geez, I'm not even sure all the.
I think that's why I wanted to bring that up was I think there's this weird disconnect of what people think the music and where it's based out of. Mm-hmm. Everybody thinks it's that central, North Carolina, Virginia, Kentucky, that whole deal. And I yes, there's a lot of it there. But it's funny to watch, that we grew up in the Colorado section of that, which had its own little hot spot that was kind of separated from the world, yet connected. And it was always awesome to see those guys come out our direction. And then eventually you had the Hot Rises and Front Range and those kind of bands that would kind of move their way east and hit the East Coast and up into your area even.
Yeah. Front Range, who had a bass player from Massachusetts.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Mm-hmm. You are correct.
Another one we grew up with was the Bluegrass Patriots, and they had a mandolin player from Vermont.
Yeah. That's right. And I used to see them up in Vermont, actually. Yeah. I saw them at a couple different festivals up there. Yep. Yeah.
So it is a very outstretched kind of music. And it is funny how we all get the pockets of the different sound.
Right.
And I think that was even cool. I think the most storied of the New England bands is Joe Val. And if you haven't had a chance to look into that stuff, it's very, very traditional, but yet had its own spin on a traditional bluegrass sound, which I think was really fun to watch. It's same as the Western bands. They had their own spin on a very traditional sound. And I think that's very cool. And as we continue to see this music evolve, with the new groups, like you said, Molly Tuttle and the Billy Strings and the whoever it happens to be, you have to remember that this is a spin on a traditional sound.
Totally.
Now, we're talking 50, 60, 70 years later, so be aware that there's got to be some change, major change, but it's still got a spin on that traditional sound.
One thing I've got my new radio show on Sirius XM, which is 80s and 90s bluegrass. And one of the things that has been kind of a prevalent theme and something I realized was you're really influenced by what you were around when you were starting to play, right? So the records that your dad had and the things that he was spinning, that's what you were first drawn to, right? And what you had access to. Well, when we were all growing up, you had access to whatever cassette tapes you could get your hands on or, whatever was in the discount bin at the big box store. I remember those 20 Bluegrass Classics with a yellow cover on a cassette tape. That's the first time I ever heard folks like Hilo Brown or, folks that I would never see at a festival, but be exposed to that way, or whoever you were seeing at the concerts and the festivals you were going to, and kind of building a connection. And so your sound is developing in the image of those sounds in a certain way.
Yeah.
The things you pull out of those. Well, my pocket of reference is different than someone who grew up, let's say, in Colorado or in California, where you weren't getting quite the cross pollination of all that. And I think it's sort of harder now to create your own sound because you have access to everything.
So I was going to say, I imagine it's completely different now because their access is just wide open. Everybody's everywhere online, and you just bring up Bluegrass on YouTube and everybody is there, unlike back in our day and your day.
Yeah. Were
Is that
you
a good or a bad thing?
I don't think there's a way to judge that. I think it is what it is, you know.
You may have less of the like pockets of like this is the sound from that area because it is so evenly.
Homogeneous.
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess it creates less of a distinctive character, maybe, to some of the bands, or some of the musicians, maybe. Yet still, they get a chance to create. I guess it's a double-edged sword, right? Because they get to go and grow their own music with tons of influences.
Yeah.
But I guess it makes it less of a stark difference from one pocket to the next.
Because
maybe.
like you said, when we were growing up, especially our experience in Colorado, there was a sound. First time it was really old-timey, it started old time music, but then there was a bluegrass sound beyond Hot Rise, but it was like the traditional. We want the most straight ahead down the road, and that was the Colorado bluegrass sound. Now there's a ton of different bands coming out of Colorado that are doing all kinds of different stuff, and it's very, very broad now.
And a lot of that is from those big festivals out there that have drawn people year after year from different pockets. But I also think there's an additional component to this, which it occurred to me a number of years ago as I was producing a record and said, hey, this needs more of like a lost and found kind of approach. And I just saw a room full of blank stares. and I realized when I got a record, we went to a festival, mom and dad was, all right, which band we're going to buy one piece of product. So we'd go buy this one cassette, and then I would just devour it. I would consume it over and over and over again. I could sing you every kickoff. I knew all the choruses and none of the other words.
Yes, exactly. I know this feeling.
Right. And then
I still am that guy today.
Right. Same. But I would really ingest that album, and I would know how it sounded and could tell you, this record sounds different because the rhythm guitar player does this thing instead of this thing, or whatever. The banjo player is very Scruggsy on this thing, and then their next record they have a banjo player who's more melodic, and so it sounds completely. So I really studied that in a way, and I guess I wasn't even aware I was doing it, but because I was only exposed to that one record at that time, I was able to ingest the whole thing and then make this sort of mental image of what things sound like. So, the Johnson Mountain Boys sound, or a particular version of the Lonesome River Band sound, hey, let's do this like the Looking for Yourself kind of record, that sound, or I understand that. And some of the younger players maybe don't have that grasp on that, but they know how Big Mon sounds over 300 different versions. Right?
It's just
it's a different way to look at stuff, and it's not better or worse. It's just different.
I definitely want to get back to the history of what you're doing, but I think you bring up something that I find extremely fascinating, which is I don't think people ingest albums in the same way. It's less. We
get one
work
song
singles,
and then it moves on to the next song.
Because of streaming music, it's just we create playlists that are just all over.
So it's hard to
place.
identify the sound of that band over the breadth of an entire album. It's just I remember when they played that single song,
right?
And you don't quite attribute it to their sound. It's just that's how they played that one song.
And for me, part of the magic of listening to an album is that configuration of those musicians. You're talking about Joe Val. I recently discovered a great live recording, Joe Val live in Holland, and his guitar player for the weekend was Danny Paisley. And so it's those two just sort of out-tenoring each other for the whole gig. It's so cool. And you only get that because of that configuration. You would never get that with another pairing.
I think another cool thing about, and I was talking to Wayne Benson once about this, is if you really, like I said, digest an album, listen to it over and over, and you really get into that artist, then the next one doesn't come out for another 2 years. And he said he loved it with Bela Fleck, but he'd like this was the era where Bela was working on arpeggios, and you could just hear arpeggios in all of his solos. And then this is where he was doing more chord-based solos. On 2 years later, he had moved on from the arpeggios. You still hear him in there, but he had moved on to this new technique that is trying to perfect. And so you can almost hear what they're studying in their music.
That's a whole nother level of nerdom. What was your mindset during this period?
Right.
But I think that's a cool result of, digesting an album and just living with it. You kind of pick up on those things that maybe is lacking a little when you get fed one from a song from 1980 on the Bela Fleck playlist, and then you get one from 2023, and you don't get to hear that progression.
I also think there's sort of a unique sound of a particular record. And I'm thinking of like the Tony Rice Native American record, which has been an obsession of mine for the last 4 years. For some reason, I never heard it before then.
Really?
I don't know why, how I missed it.
It's one of my faves.
I knew some tunes from that, but I didn't know the whole record. And it's been like on repeat for me since then. And there's just something that really kind of calms me when I listen to those songs in that order. And I have it on vinyl. Actually, I listened to it yesterday on vinyl in my studio. For that there's something about the sound, the tonality of that, the way those musicians are playing together that is its own collection. And when you put it against other Rice stuff, it's not different, but it's not the same.
I hear you.
And you also bring up another point there. When you listen to it in that order, there's a lot of, I think, artists, when you're putting together an album, there's a lot of thought into which songs work together on this project. And some of them you love the songs, but it just doesn't fit this project. So they're thinking of the album or the CD in its entirety. And with the way streaming works now, if you're not listening to those back and back, you're not getting the experience that the artist was really trying to do. They can swap the order of it, and they kind of randomize it, or they pick a song from this album, and the next song's from a completely different. So you're not getting the full experience of what they were doing for that project.
Right.
But I know there's a lot of thought not only into what songs get on the album, what order do I put them in? How do they work together?
We agonize and fight about that at the label all the time. Yeah.
Well, I want to bring
then
that up
realize that
before
most people aren't listening to it from start to finish.
Right, of course. My son brings that up all the time.
Before
Nobody
we
listens to it in order.
Yeah, that's right. Well, before we dive into that, I think we need to explain. We talked about you're a musician. You're in Nashville. You're doing songwriting. You're doing the whole deal. Eventually, you start teaching again. You do some more working, still continuing. But then you start your record label. And I don't know if everybody knows this, but started a recording studio that turned into a record label. Is that the right succession, or
sort of? Yeah,
both at the same time?
Basically, when I got to Nashville, I went to my first session and I sucked, and I hated that feeling so bad that I went out and bought some recording gear so I could practice recording. Just get more used to what it was like having the headphones on with a microphone and every little terrible thing you were playing coming back at you. Yeah. Right? It's a thing. And for folks that haven't been in a studio before, it can be very
humbling.
It's humbling. It's nerve-wracking. There's a lot of pressure. Even though you can do it again, the more times you do it again, the less confidence you have. Right.
And then you start to feel bad for the people that are all the money that's being spent on that engineer to hear you try to do your solo over and over.
Exactly. And so it was a growth thing for me. And I learned how to engineer stuff. And then, of course, you get a couple mics and someone said, hey, can you do some demos for us? And it kind of spawned that way. And at a certain point, I wanted to make some teaching CDs to help folks learn how to sing harmony, bluegrass harmony. And there was sort of a thing that I saw missing in the market, and we made it, and then we had to put it out. So that's when the Dark Shadow brand started. And once we had that kind of up and running, I was working with a family band, and they were trying to figure out what to do with their next record. And I said, well, do you want to partner and try to put it out together? And that sort of spawned that. And the very next project happened to be Becky's first record that she did with us, which is now 11 years ago, I guess, something like
Becky
that.
We're for you guys out there,
right? 6 or 7 records in now, something like that. Yeah,
and all on the Dark Shadow.
Yep.
Recording label.
Yeah, she had a few records before that, but we've had a long run here now. It's been fun growing together,
So that gives you people at home a little bit more perspective, because I want to get back into what we just were talking about. You as producer, engineer, and record label owner,
Yep.
this business has changed a whole bunch. And we
Oh
were
my
just
God.
talking about how albums have changed. Because
Yeah.
Jeremy's right. Pacing of albums. I mean, there was even calculations of how many beats you go from one song to the next.
Or thought on how
if it goes
a
into
tape
each
can,
other.
a cassette can only hold this many songs,
Right.
so the length of it cannot exceed this.
We're back there
CDs.
with vinyl.
Yeah.
We're back there with vinyl, which
Which is
learned-
funny because
Yeah.
vinyl's back and
Yeah.
has its own existence
Yeah.
in a world where everybody streams, which is really funny to me. But
It's a complicated thing, honestly. Because cars don't have CD players anymore, that's kind of out. And we're still making CDs because there's still people that want to buy them. But I think in a lot of cases, it's folks that are coming up to the merch table that want to support the artist
sure,
and take home a memento.
Mhm.
And that, I think, is where the vinyl is maybe a little more attractive. It's a nice big photo. You know, it's a thing you can
Get
put
an
it in a
autograph on it.
I gotta
big
say-
autograph. I love vinyl. I've been a collector for a long time, so it's cool to me. But I think that's I would wonder how many of the vinyl that we sell actually ever get spun, because I think they're more of an art piece than
well, I remember like you expressed this earlier about talking about how you digested
Yeah.
albums, and mine was albums. Like
Yeah.
I remember moving. My dad upgraded his stereo system, and I purchased that stereo system from him and put it in my bedroom.
Yes.
You know, and I had like the big 12-inch woofer three-way speaker
Yep.
in my bedroom and a turntable and a receiver and the whole deal. And I remember laying in bed and you would literally listen to an album and you held it like this. This is
Right.
It was
Yeah.
weird because it really didn't do anything except for you still stared at and read the liner notes like
Yes.
400 times while you listened to a 40-minute album. And then you pulled over and you read who played on what cut and you pulled out the little sleeve that was on the inside. And sometimes that was printed on with sometimes lyrics and that changed your whole world. And you stared at those photos and you digested it as such.
Yeah.
And I still to this day, we have Alan Mundy around here and I always talk about the Country Gazette Rides Again
Yes.
album. And, it's just like this album, I can still picture myself sitting there staring at that and
Yeah.
listening to that music in that format. So I guess that does make more sense why vinyl came back. When CDs came back, at first, when you first got CDs, you had a Joe cover and one little simple fold was all you had in there. And then all of a sudden everybody's going, but I'm missing that album, that vinyl jacket, the whole experience. So it started to be booklets. And then
Yeah.
it's kind of gone back away from that because now we got streaming and there is no booklets.
Yeah.
There is no anything. So maybe you're
Well, they're
right.
getting back to that. If you watch on Spotify, they have you can add videos or behind the scenes photos while you're doing it, or lyrics. They're trying to do it.
I like that idea.
Digitally.
I guess I'm so much of a Luddite that I don't understand.
Some of the platforms are really good about the credits. When we submit, we type all kinds of stuff into our distributors, and then they send that out to all the different platforms that host. But my favorite is Tidal. The streaming quality is fantastic. It's in many cases, it's actually mastering quality. It's more than you can get on a CD. But they have the way they have their credits is usually quite accurate. And, if the label has typed it in correctly,
Just
that's-
learned something, Jay. Do you
Yeah.
know of this title? I've not known about this.
TID.
Is it
DAL.
free?
No, it is not free because music is not free. That's just what it is. You want free music? Play it yourself.
It's just sound waves.
Buy
am I
a
paying for
guitar
this?
from the Acoustic Shop and play your own free music. Yes.
I'm all into this idea. I
I
like
pay for my Spotify.
it. It's so weird.
I pay for the
It
premium.
is an amazing change that has happened, and it
And
goes
I'm
back
curious,
to that.
as a record label owner, how do you make money
Exactly.
these days? I'm
Oh.
sure that's because
Yeah.
it's expensive to make a CD. Like, I don't think people understand the equipment you already talked about, and owning your own label makes it something you could probably kind of justify over 20 albums. But for the way it used to be, is a record label didn't own the studio for the most part, or something. I guess it did for a number of years, but they give you a budget, and it could be $20,000 to make an average project because you got to pay for $50 to $80 an hour for the studio, and then $80 an hour
Back
for the
then.
engineer.
Yeah,
back
This
then.
was back in when we were recording, and then you got the artwork, and you got all the guest artists that you're having on the project, and then you got the the royalties and getting the permissions to record the songs, photography. So
Marketing.
expensive
Yeah.
proposition to make one. And it was mostly made up on, at least for the bluegrass touring musician, on sales at venues. Like it was hard to get CDs into stores. You could get some in there, but it wasn't a large portion of the sales. For bluegrass, obviously, people are buying Backstreet Boys and
You mean we were not matching Backstreet Boys numbers? What are you trying to say?
anytime they did have our CD in there, I'd put it in front of the Backstreet Boys in the chat.
Jim's back. All right.
But it was really, you could sell enough CDs that the way those labels worked is you didn't get any royalties or anything from recording it until you'd paid back the entire budget, or sometimes budget and extra. But they knew that they could make that back within a year or two of just a good touring artist selling a lot of CDs. Now, like I said, there are some people that still want to buy it as a memento to support the artist, but most of them are like, oh, I can't wait till this comes out on some streaming service and I can listen to it. And we know that streaming does not pay well for the amount of streams that it, people listen to. We see photos all the time of a check in the mail for 5 cents for 10,000 plays.
Yeah.
10 million views plays.
Well, it's a different time, and we're definitely having to shift. I think one of the struggles that we're fighting right now is getting our bluegrass fan base to go ahead and embrace streaming. Now, I know that sounds horrible, what I just said, but
I don't think it sounds horrible. There's
But-
no other choice, is there?
but there's no other choice. The many of those streaming platforms pay on the percentage of how many listeners are there overall, right? The income is split. And you can research all that stuff. If we have more listeners, we'll get paid more. It's still based on a really dinky little number. And that's a bigger problem for us right now. But if we could get more listeners, our artists would see more revenue. That's just fact. And there's been such a stream bashing thing for years. The problem is it's already out of the box.
Yeah.
And for the end user, streaming
fix
is
it.
awesome.
So convenient.
It's awesome. You have access to everything. You pull out your phone or your computer, you dial up whatever artist you want, you hit play, you're listening. You don't have to tote around a big box of CDs in your car for a road trip.
Remember the book?
The book. I still have a couple. It's so great for the end user. And there's a beautiful thing about most of the streaming platforms. If you type in, all right, we want to listen to that Tony Rice album, at the end of that album, it's going to spit out something else. Well, that something else isn't always something I know about.
Yeah,
It's a great opportunity for discovery.
Like you were talking earlier about not knowing Doyle Lawson because he didn't tour up there.
Right.
Now,
It would be impossible not to know that. Yeah. So that's wonderful. Those are great benefits of this platform that exists. It's inexpensive for the end user. It's a great product for the end user. And so the struggle is to figure out how the artist can somehow make some money off of any of it. And really, it's just a numbers game. More is more.
Yeah.
And so obviously, right now, it's about, number one, if there's an artist coming to your area that's playing, try to get out and see them.
Yeah.
That's going to help more than anything. If they've got tchotchkes for sale, buy something, whether it's t-shirts, hats, fly swatters, keychains, I don't know. Vinyl, exactly. And then, all of our artists are still carrying CDs. Many in the bluegrass world are still carrying CDs to sell. It's just they're only selling a few at a show or whatever if they're lucky. And it's different, and we have to accept that. But it is a big challenge. And now, because of the streaming thing, there's more emphasis on all the social media stuff and really having video content that goes along with things, and a constant push where when you were, 20 years ago, you put out the record and the push was your tour.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You'd go tour that record. Now it's mixed and mingled a little bit differently. So it's a challenge. It is a real challenge. And fortunately, our label works as long as I don't get paid. Works perfect.
Great business plan.
I own the studio. I do all the engineering and producing. And as long as I don't get paid, we can afford to make records. It works.
There you go.
Passion project.
Wow.
It really is. And honestly, that's why we started it. I make my living touring and teaching and doing other stuff. And I really love being able to help people get their music out. It's been a joy to watch Rick Ferris's journey.
Yeah.
You know, he's now 4 records in with us, and watching him become his own artist over the course of that and figure out who he is, what he wants to sound like. And I take great pride in stuff like that. And we've got some great musicians we've been working with, and more on the way. It's fun.
I'm curious, as this is going to be the semi-controversial, I guess, topic, and you get to decide how deep you want to go into this.
Mhm.
I think you were talking about the scare of streaming and how this all changed over and all this. And I think for me, I watched it happen I find this to be a not having the end user as educated on the system and not being as open with the end user and transparent, exactly, as what they probably should have been during the era when we were selling CDs and albums before that and all that kind of space, where the education of what the business was. Because I think the thing that kind of destroyed the profitability of what music was going to become was this idea, which everybody found out, that to actually mass produce a CD was 98 cents or whatever it was at that time period, that everybody got mad at Napster and again got mad at everybody who shared music, was that it was only 98 cents. And what people didn't understand was that it really wasn't only 98 cents. And
it was 98 cents for the physical
product. But to actually do it was a whole lot more. And that's what we were just talking about, the budget to create the music, to the years of just be the musician to be able to do that. And I even got a kick out of, the big labels who were just poor at telling people what they were doing. Because even development in these massive pop albums that were huge, that made billions of dollars, that what people didn't understand was for every one of those hits, that same label had 40 different development deals with some other artists that didn't hit. And they spent just as much money throwing it at the wall going, man, if one of these out of the 40 hits, we can still stay okay in this world. And maybe, and that's maybe the problem that you're talking about with streaming right now, is the fact that, again, people don't understand that, yes, you're only paying $10 a month for your streaming service or whatever it is. And that is wonderful. But does this music, like you said, it's not free. Music is not free, or even cheap. And somebody has to pay for it somewhere. So is the answer for somebody literally open up the entire books and say, this is what it actually takes to do this?
And I think that was done. There was an era, and it's still going on, where the Fund Me albums, where they get crowdsourced funds, say, this is what it's going to cost me to release this album. Could you donate to this? And that was opening of the books of and they have to show, here's how much I spent on studio, here's how much we spent on reproduction.
Yeah, I think who we really need to be angry at is whoever agreed to set the original price of how much a royalty should be from a stream. Napster was kind of the beginning of it, where no one got paid anything.
Yeah. And
that was, of course, bad, but then all people sort of got a taste for that. And the streaming platforms themselves are amazing if people got paid, for that.
For their contributions.
Now the cool thing is, and the sort of glimmer of hope, is that the streaming is perpetual. So while the album might not recoup in 2 years, it lives there and it keeps making money. You sell one CD to one person and they listen to it 5 million times. You've only sold that one CD.
Time.
It's gone. And then you got to buy another one to sell another one. With the streaming, the upload is, for all intents and purposes, free-ish, and it lives on. It's just a digital file, and they keep using that same digital file. So there's no additional expense for the actual music. It keeps profiting, just very slowly.
Yeah.
And so, if we could somehow get a lot more bluegrass listeners, and if the government could step in like they did with the Sirius XM radio, when satellite radio started, they started a thing called Sound Exchange, which said you will pay the artist royalty and you will pay the songwriter royalty at this rate. And that turned out really
I was going to bring that up. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not sure why there's such a big difference, because I imagine for the record label, it's one of the biggest revenue sources. But for his band, I think our biggest checks we ever got were from SiriusXM and from the Sound Exchange. You know, it was pretty substantial, even without having any major hits. How much different that is compared to some of the other streaming platforms. And
there's some kind of disconnect, and whoever was in charge when they said, "Hey, we're going to do this thing. Is it okay if we pay this amount?" And somebody said, "Yeah."
I've actually listened to a few podcasts on this, and there was nobody in charge.
Yeah.
That was the point. It was, you do the Blockbuster analogy with Netflix. It was like they were so stuck and they were so consumed with the fact that they owned the industry at the time with recording, and they didn't care, and they didn't see the writing on the wall that this is going to happen.
Right.
We need to plan. We need to get ready for technology, and technology just overtook them. And at that point, the people that were running Spotify and all the other streaming services were like, "We're going to make the rules because you guys are absent right now. We're just going to do it."
The difference, the most substantial difference, is when you play a gig and you sell a CD, it's money you have right now to go put in the van, go fill up the van, right, with gas. With the streaming things, it's over a longer period of time. And I have friends that have actually made more money as songwriters on stream stuff than they did on a band that made 1,000 units and sold them, because it's once and done.
Yep.
So it's more of a long-term game. And it's aggravating for the artist for sure. Because it's hard to, you're not getting back what you put in.
But there's
until a certain amount of time is passed.
We're doing that with our business. We've talked with other retailers that are doing the same marketing we're doing. There's kind of an analogy there where we're doing all the YouTube content, this podcast. There isn't an immediate. So I've talked to artists and what we consider to be, it becomes a marketing thing now.
Right.
It's another way to outreach, and you start looking at it that way, but you got to find another revenue stream to make up that difference. That's got to be the payoff at the end. It's easy with retail because, we sell instruments in the end. That's the goal. So as an artist, you got to start figuring out ticket sales, but that's also kind of hard.
Help the record label.
That's also extremely hard to do. There's no direct correlation there. So you got to figure out, it's tchotchkes, I guess. T-shirts.
It used to be a cyclical thing where you come out with a new album, you tour to promote the album, you're getting press because you're touring, and that promotes the album, and vice versa, the touring, and now it's more of a focus of, we've got new music out, hello, we're still here, please come to our show.
And the discovery aspect of it, where somebody that may never have heard of you got fed that from an algorithm, said other people also like this, and now that introduced a new ticket buyer to your music.
That's the hope. It's just the struggle, especially in our niche market, where you've got folks that are really crushing it and doing stuff at a big high level, but then you've got a lot of these little mom and pop festivals that we all went to and played at, which are shutting down. And I've even seen it with some of the bigger acts, the stand-up bars that aren't doing music anymore. They're just having a DJ on a Friday night or whatever. There's just a shift, and it's the economy. It's what folks are comfortable paying for. It seems like right now folks are saving their money for those big trips to go see the Eagles or go see a big act somewhere, some sort of destination that's going to be real expensive, and they're not coming to the Thursday night show in their hometown. And that is what it is. I don't know how we change that. I mean,
same for, like you said, with streaming. It's here. This kind of,
it's here.
The new reality.
We got to deal with it. And
I think that all cycles, and I even say music in general. I think when the radio came out, that was also a complaint that nobody's going to go out and see music anymore because they can sit at home and listen to the radio. And then the radio became albums and recorded.
And then you got
the radio
talkies.
star.
Yeah,
Talkies totally
movies.
ruined.
of course.
And then TV killed the radio star.
There has to be, well, that was a big deal though. Seriously,
Songlines.
MTV was a major scare for a lot of people because everybody's like, there was a literal argument that nobody's not going to create music anymore. They're just going to create videos, and it's not going to be about the music. It's going to be about the production of the movie. And, you know, that went through its cycle. And
Yeah.
We talked about this on another podcast when Chuck E. Cheese came out with their animatronics. It was considered to be the new next form of entertainment.
Yeah.
We were never going to have live entertainment after that. We just
Robots
have
from now on.
robots entertaining people.
We're closer now than ever. No, honestly,
Now it's
that brings up
holograms.
what I kind of here's my optimism. I think because of AI, with AI creating music, there's been bands, there's been AI things that have come out. Even on Spotify, had a big fake artist with fake music that did well and it sounds good and, you know, all that stuff. My thought is the more we're exposed to AI, the more folks are going to want to see something real.
Yeah.
And a band,
person.
a 5-piece bluegrass band standing on stage picking at you
Is about as real
is
as it
about
gets.
as real as it gets. And my hope is that folks are going to come to the more acoustic ends of things, maybe go watch a symphony or you know, a big band or something in person, because that's not AI.
Yeah.
That's not fake. People put in the time, they're doing it. And we all know there's something different when you go see a concert and you experience that room vibe of a really good show. It's different even than sitting at home with your favorite record, which is pristine and wonderful. It's a different experience.
It absolutely is.
I want to take things an entirely different direction.
Oh,
we completely
boy.
glossed over.
Yeah, that's where I was gonna
When
go.
did you end up joining the Sam Bush band? How did that whole thing happen?
I remember
And how
right
often-
after it happened,
How
'cause we were
often
at
does
Spiglo.
Sam bring up my name as his mandolin hero that he looks up to?
That's great. That's great.
Zero. Just say zero. Just tell him.
I'm aware of that.
It was my
I actually got to meet Sam Bush the very first time because of you, so I appreciate that.
It was my pleasure to introduce you guys. I'm just finishing my 19th year with Sam,
Really?
which is
Yeah, they announced that at Merlefest, I think.
unbelievable. Yeah. It's hard. It truly is hard for me to believe that it's been that long because it doesn't seem like it. It's not, it's a very fun gig for a lot of reasons. I have musical ADD, and I love trad bluegrass. I love rock and roll. I love all kinds of stuff. And with Sam,
You get to
that's
do all
like
that.
every other song is something different. And sometimes in a song, it'll totally shift genres. And it's great. I love it. And I love when we play a traditional tune. He's gunning for the, J.D. Crowe version of that or the country gentleman version of that song or whatever. It's real traditional. So I had been playing around Nashville. I started with Sam in 2006. I auditioned with him around Thanksgiving of 2005. And
And you were still primarily a mandolin player at that time, right?
I moved to Nashville to be a mandolin player, immediately got switched to guitar in the first band I played in. And then it was whatever instrument I was feeling good on at any given moment was not what my next gig would be. So I just kept flip-flopping. And there was a couple, my last summer of kind of being somewhat independent was I was carrying both to gigs because I was playing in a couple bands where it would depend who else showed up, which one I was playing, and which part I was singing, whether I was singing tenor or baritone or whatever. There was one summer I was playing with 9 different groups, and still sitting home almost every other weekend. It was that kind of,
Yeah.
it just was. That's what it was. But I did a bunch of shows with Randy Coors through him. Scott Vestal was playing with him at the time, and then Scott ended up joining Sam's group. And I, for a number of, for about a year and a half, I couldn't afford a place to live. And Richard Smith, an amazing fingerstyle guitar player, he and his wife Julie Adams took me in, and I was their dog sitter. That's what they said, but they really saved my butt. I lived with them for about a year and a half, and Richard was doing a radio show, and he had Sam in as a guest. And Sam told him at that he was looking for a guitar player because Keith Sewell was going back out with the Dixie Chicks, which was actually that year. It was the year that they took off and then cratered. It was, but Keith had been in the band 1 year and left, and Sam was on like his 4th year of a 1-year guitar player, and he was ready to not have that. Anyway, so Richard told me about that. I got a hold of Scott. Richard told him about me. Scott told him about me, and our friend Sim Daly told him about me, and he called, and I got an audition. And he auditioned a bunch of folks, and I assumed I didn't get the gig. But I had a really cool thing as I was driving to his house. I had this moment of, being totally freaked out, learning tunes in 7, I'm woodshedding for a few days before this thing, trying to figure out how to play his music. And as I'm driving to his house, I just had this moment of like, all right, well, if I move to Nashville and the highlight was going to Sam Bush's house and jamming for a couple of hours,
That'll be all right.
that's pretty cool. And so I went in with that, and we hung and jammed. It was great. And then I assumed I didn't get the gig. And January rolls around, and I get a call. And Sam said, hey, I'd like to invite you for a second audition. Well, cool. And I got online and looked at his schedule, and the first show was February 18th, which should be fine, except it was the day that Yana and I were supposed to get married. And her family was coming in from overseas. We were going up to Massachusetts. It was in a window. Her mom was teaching. My dad was teaching. It was both of their spring breaks. It was like, or whatever, winter break, whatever it was. We couldn't move that. And Yana said, what are you going to do? I said, well, if he doesn't understand that, I don't want to work for him. I was done with all the music scene. And I actually had plans to go back to Massachusetts and take over the band director position at the school that I used to teach at, because the band director was retiring. And I was I was on one of those internet sites the night before looking for a job to make enough money to move back to Massachusetts. And went for my second audition, and he just leaned over. He said, so you want to join my band? And yeah, the rest is history. So I missed my first gig.
Did you?
But he understood.
Yeah, it was a great moment. I just, he kind of laid out, the pay schedule and the touring, kind of how they tour and all that kind of stuff for me, to give me a picture of what I was agreeing to. And he said, yeah, and our first gig's February 18th. And I said, well, I've got a problem on that day. I'm supposed to get married. And he looked at me and said, no, you're going to get married. We'll get a sub. And I was like, this is my guy.
Good.
Yeah. And it's been great. It
So
truly
do
has
you
been
remember that first show? Like, how nervous?
terrifying.
I can
My
only
first
imagine how nervous I would be. I actually got to jam with him once at NAMM, and I played a quarter of what I can normally play just because I was so
You're
nervous.
going, "Yeah."
I'm playing with Sam Bush.
Yeah. Well, he is such a kind person and a great. He's just a lovable character, and the more I got to know him, the more comfortable I was. And honestly, there is no greater thing to play a solo against than that mandolin chop. There's nothing like it.
I bet.
I've played with a lot of great mandolin players, but man, that it just sort of earth shattering on every offbeat, and it just gives you a place to land. And that's one of the things my parents have come to shows since I was a kid, obviously, and they came out and saw me after I'd been playing with Sam for a little while. And then even now they saw us at the Ryman last year, and my dad was just going, I don't know how you do it. How have you come to this place where you're playing like that? I said, well, honestly, it's the easiest band to play with because everybody else is so darn good. The timing is so unbelievably good that all I got to worry about is playing. I don't have to worry about trying to keep the band together or whatever. And you know what that's like in a bluegrass band. When
if you play with Jason, you definitely know what that's like. You got to pull it together because he's going to suck the timing right out of the music.
I think you might have that backwards there, John.
Oh, wait a second. Wait.
He's sitting.
I'm not going to say a word.
Yeah. No, but it's
Jeremy agreed with me. I don't know if you caught that, but he said the same thing.
But there are musicians that play really well together, that they all feel timing in a certain place.
Absolutely.
And then some feel it this way and some feel it this way. And sometimes you're in a band with people that do this.
Yes.
You're trying to
And
keep
you're
it in
trying
the
to
middle.
figure out where to go. And guitar player, banjo player,
I know
we're
exactly.
subdividing. We're going, all right, who do I follow or whatever? This band is not like that.
Yeah.
This is a unit. And the cool part is when we play a bluegrass tune, everything's up on the front. When we're playing a New Orleans style tune, everything's on the back, and everybody's playing for the song, not for how they play. Does that make sense? I don't know if I said that
It
correctly,
absolutely
but
makes sense.
but it isn't just everybody imposing their own performance on a song. It's what does this song need and how can I present
Yeah.
that? And everybody's in this great mindset of how do we make whoever's the focus at this moment, how do we make them sound great? So if it's my turn to play guitar solo, they're behind me and it's even on the long jams, it's not like a static chord change that just happens over and over again. There's a lot of building. There's licks that happen. There's movement. There's energy that comes from the drums. He might shift his pattern because of what I'm playing, which then kind of lifts me into another place.
Yeah.
And it's like this whole moving organism thing. And it isn't one person soloing with a band behind them. It's all of us. And none of what I do could be good without what they're doing. And that same is true with,
That's cool.
Sam's always good, but
I
even
think-
when he does his solo thing, it's good.
I think a lot of our viewers, something that always kind of excited me, just the thought of it, but you got to experience it. And we've got some great friends who have done the same, where the Chapmans, we had, pretty good success in the end, but it was a very gradual thing where you're that struggling band.
Right.
You're the one playing right after Doyle Lawson, and everybody folds up their lawn chairs, and you got 10 people, and you struggle. You start to get a little more status. You start to play better festivals. You're starting to get some of those headline spots. You went through that too as an artist.
Oh, yeah.
But then there's all of a sudden this overnight shift that now you're at the Sam Bush level. You're playing Telluride. You're playing, the top venues that are, bands like ours just dream about getting on stage
Yeah.
with. So for you and people that have struggled as a musician too, there's probably this dream of all of a sudden you're like in this new stratus of the grind.
Yeah. No, it's a significantly different approach for sure. I will say, I missed my first gig in February. There was a couple gigs in March, and then there was Merlefest in April. I'm like 4 or 5 gigs into the band, and we're playing the headline set Saturday night at
Merlefest, Sam Bush,
and this was back when
it's like Telluride and Merlefest are Sam Bush band royalty.
Yeah, and Rocking Grass.
Yeah.
And it's a thrill, honestly. I was scared to death because, I also watched all those videos of Tony and Sam playing at Merlefest and those classic things. And there's a lot of what's different. The struggle is in a different place. Now I need to live up to this.
Yeah.
And it's a different internal pressure, and you gotta get rid of that because it doesn't do any good. But there is a massive additional pressure, and this was the 2006 before they changed the stage layout, and they used to have chairs set up just as we're looking out at the audience, just on the right, and Doc and Rosalie had a rocking chair there, and there was a handful of folks, and I get my gear plugged in, we get sound coming out of the monitors, it's all working, I'm trying to calm my nerves a little bit, and I look to my right, and there's Terry Bauckham and Tim Stafford staring back at me. And I'm like, oh my God. Two totally amazing. They're wonderful humans and very nice. And they certainly weren't thinking anything
No.
about my skills at
We
all.
put them on this platform.
But your brain, that little jerk in the back of your head goes, don't suck. Of course, I certainly made my share of clams, but
Absolutely.
but nobody dies, and
Yeah.
that's the good part about music.
I remember that exact feeling. I remember our first one, and my dad always made fun of me on this one because we did our big IBMA set. It was a showcase deal, and you go out there, and it was Jerry Douglas out there in the front, and he was. It made me just an absolute. I mean, all your heroes. Anytime you get your heroes out there, it becomes a whole nother run, and you just don't. For some reason, you can't be yourself on those shows. I don't know why that is, but you just can't.
There's something, now I'm with Telluride. I just did my 19th one. We celebrated Sam's 50th consecutive Telluride last year,
That's wild.
which is just insane. And yet that show I've talked to Sam about it, and Bela and Jerry, all those guys. There's some sort of extra gravity with those shows because they're such a big deal that it's even hard for them to play well on that stage. There's a few complicating factors.
That's somewhat encouraging to hear, though.
Yes. And of course, their definition of feeling comfortable and mine are two different things. They sound amazing. But you're at 10,000 feet. There's no oxygen. It's crazy dry. It's either really hot or really cold. It has actually snowed at some of those sets. It's hard to do anything at that altitude if you just got there the day before or 2 days before even. You walk up 3 stairs and you're panting. It's just, it's hard to breathe. So playing is extra difficult. Your strings go dead immediately. Your pick gets scrapey because it's dusty. Everybody's dancing and all that. So it's really hard to play well. But I've heard some epic sets there too.
Oh, yeah.
So I know it can be done. I can't do it, but other people can. Yeah,
No, I think that's cool, and that's we joked about it at the beginning of this podcast. That's one of the reasons you're in town. You guys are playing one of the theaters here.
Yeah.
With the Sam Bush Band. Since we've got to attend. The first time I met Sam was at Merle Fest, and you introduced me and my wife to him. We've been able to go back there the last 4 years, and again, we can just expect the Sam Bush Band to just be the headline act that night, and always put on an incredible show.
Always deliver, yes.
Including you, Steven. You always deliver.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. It's always a great show. It's been awesome having you in here to discuss the aspects of the business, because I do get a kick out of, for you personally, you've now taken on so many aspects of this music business, and it gives a cool insight to, it's hard enough to be just a musician. It's hard enough to be just an engineer. It's hard enough to be a music, producer, and then a music business person. And for some reason, I don't know what kind of death toll you're trying to put on yourself, but you've decided to take on all of those. But yet it also gives you a cool perspective on a lot of what is going on art-wise, not just music even.
I think for me, it all feels like another extension of what I already do and what I know. A lot of it comes from my teaching background, honestly. I love the producing aspect of that. I love doing band coaching. My new radio show is a lot about educating folks about music of that era. The label itself is sort of my hope is that every artist that comes through the label leaves better prepared to do their next thing. So I don't know. It all comes from that and the fact that I just love music.
Good.
I love music and sharing it with others. The community aspect is, I think, probably my favorite part.
So your next move is to start a guitar store. I think you should try that aspect of it.
I know one for sale.
Yeah. No, I can't believe what you guys have done with this. It's an incredible store and man, it's just cool to watch you guys grow and do what you've done. I miss hearing you sing and pick though.
Yeah.
That's
I don't.
yeah.
Funny thing is nobody else.
Nobody else
I
does.
don't think that's true.
It is funny though. We do go to IBMA and Merle Fest, and more people know us from the YouTube channel as the Acoustic Shoppe than knew us as the Chapmans, as a bluegrass
I find
band.
that to be the best part. To me, it's funnier.
I get that in my own life where folks seem to either know me as the Dark Shadow guy or the guy that plays with Sam, and don't really make the connection that I am the same person. I wish I had a twin. That would be really helpful.
Yeah, you do. His name's Dan Tomiski.
Not with that crazy hair.
I don't. Yeah, he's got hair. I don't.
Stick your finger in a light socket.
No, I don't think you'd agree with that. I finally got to on the latest Rick Ferris album. We had Dan in to play mandolin on about half the record, and that was
He's
a
still one
thrill.
of my favorite mandolin players ever.
Mine too. It was super fun to have him in the studio working in that regard. It was really, really a treat.
It is.
I know we're wrapping this up, but real quickly, you talked about the new radio show you got on Sirius XM.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit more about that. So it's 80s and 90s bluegrass is what you kind of feature?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's called Mojo's Mixtape. It's 80s and 90s bluegrass, and some of it is really based on what I grew up listening to, but I'm also trying to find things that I never heard. One of my recent discoveries, the Wyatt Rice New Market Gap album. That's pretty cool stuff.
I survived on that album for quite a while.
I'd never heard of it.
There was a time period I actually believed that Wyatt might be a better guitar player than Tony in some ways, because that album was like
It's
What was
amazing.
the Wyatt Rice band album? What was the name?
Santa
of
Cruz,
Santa
Wyatt
Cruz,
Rice and
yeah.
Santa Cruz, Picture
Yeah,
in a
that's a
Tear.
good
We play
record.
the fire out of that
Yeah.
record.
Yeah.
That's a great album.
The real
And
question is, where's the Chapmans line up? Because that's the end of beginning of.
No.
well, I don't. That's the problem. We end at 1999, and most of your records are in the early 2000s, which is a. Now, I broke the rules one time. There's an episode, an interview that I did with John Weisberger that we centered on songwriting, and I have the interviewee make the playlist for the time that they're interviewing, and he included Losing Again on there. And I said, well, that's 2001. He said, yeah, but I wrote it in the 90s. And it was his first big cut.
Yeah.
That's what
It
he
was his
tells
first
us.
big cut. And he sort of claims that as his entrance into the bluegrass songwriting community,
That,
which
that
is
still humbles me when I talk to John that he says, if it weren't for you guys recording this, I wouldn't have the career that I've had, which he's had a very, very successful career with writing songs, including some new ones with Billy Strings, co-writing those that have been huge hits.
yeah.
But he says it was that one song that really motivated him to keep it going, which is like, wow, thanks.
I'm sorry.
Well, yeah. And I mean, he was 2012 IBMA Songwriter of the Year, which was the first year of that award. And he is the reigning
Yeah,
2025 IBMA Songwriter of the Year.
And a good guy.
It
And a
is.
good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. I honestly don't remember when we released albums. We'd been doing stuff before that.
Of
Feels
course.
like the 1970s to us.
Yeah.
We'll
yeah.
give you some of those cassettes.
The early 2000s were the Pine Castle years, as
That makes sense.
far as I can.
Yeah.
And honestly, I build my playlist in a streaming platform so that I know that the folks at Sirius can access them.
Mhm.
Otherwise, they're things. I mean, I also have ripped some stuff from vinyl, things that are not in the digital world. I had a lot of the Bluegrass Cardinals catalog is not streamable, unfortunately, but I've got the records, so I've been able to play a few things. When I had Larry Stevenson in, the stuff he was on isn't on streaming. Not much of it.
I hope you're getting some like the Bluegrass 95, 96, 97. That was
Absolutely,
great
that's
series.
powerful stuff. There's so much great stuff in that era, and I keep stumbling across one and go, oh yeah, and there's also it's enjoyable because it's the music I grew up on.
I'm with you. It's the ones that we did too.
So if you
Oh,
get
yeah,
a chance to
that's
listen to
our-
that, and I'm sure, I imagine that Ned Lubrecki might have been somewhat a influence to start a radio show, or was
Well, honestly, I did a radio show a couple of years ago on bluegrasscountry.org for a little while for those guys, and I enjoyed the process. It was fun to kind of get it from, I'm looking at music as a performer and as a record label, but seeing it on the other side as a DJ, figuring out, oh yeah, I played that song last week. I'm not going to play it again this week. And you just sort of understanding some things
Mhm.
about putting a show together. I've enjoyed it. I really do. And I feel like it's a good time for me to dig back and listen to music that I wouldn't otherwise make myself listen to.
Yeah.
So that's fun. And actually Joey and I were the ones that kind of came up with
Right.
the idea. And then I told Ned and he went, oh yeah. And he came up with the name.
That's great.
Yep.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you for coming by, hanging out with us here
Yeah.
at the.
Appreciate you leaving Sam on the bus.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He's out in the parking lot right now, just hanging out.
No, he
you know.
started tuning.
Takes a while.
I love
It's
it.
a mandolin player joke, folks.
Yes. Anyway, Stephen Mougin is here. And yes, the Acoustic Shoppe knows Stephen Mougin now more so than we did even
doing
an
pretty
hour
well.
and a half
And you
ago.
can
I knew
do
him pretty well. Yeah.
20
Which
years.
is really, really weird. So anyway, thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, Stephen, for hanging out with us. It sounds like we got a part 2 coming up in the future because there's so many other aspects of your career that we haven't even touched
No,
on.
I'm done
yet.
talking to him.
Okay.
I'm done.
Got everything I
Cut
want.
it. Jason's done.
Cut the
That's it.
cameras.
Done.
We're done.
Done.
Thank you, guys.
How'd that go? Was it good?
So I tell you about getting in a fight.
Yeah, we heard about it.
Okay.
No, ad nauseum.
It was fun to talk. Honestly, I love Sam Bush Band and what Steven does with the band. But Steven, as an entrepreneur and as a businessman of his own right and an educator, he really does a lot. Not only with the one-on-one
Overall music.
lessons with students, but the band coaching. I've talked to a lot of bands that have gone through that, and
He's
just
industrious.
very industrious, and he's doing a lot for the community. He's
Yeah.
won the
He was
award.
up until recently. He was a board member for IBMA, which was a big time suck. I'm
he's
sure.
won Momentum Awards with IBMA for mentorship, and
He does a lot for the music. He obviously loves it.
running a
One
record
thing I-
label. That's not easy
yeah.
in a studio.
Well, I think Yana
That's
does
a
most
love
of that.
passion. Yeah.
Yana does most of the work. I think Steven just stands behind the mixer
Steven,
and
I think
pretends
you're
like,
a great guy. And doing a lot
I
of
need
really
to
hard-
Yana, I
buy
need a new
more
microphone.
mics. No. What I got from it though is remembering how long we've known Steven,
Yes.
and how much history we have. It's been a long time.
And how much each of us have done different from what we were doing back then.
Yeah.
What is great is, again, we were able to prove the title of this podcast, The Acoustic Shoppe Knows.
We know some people.
some people.
And sometimes we just need to remind it about how much we know people. The memory gets a little bit weak at this age, I hear.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, time and distance.
Yes.
I'm
But
telling
we
you,
still know them.
I have fully got to that age where I walk into the bathroom and forget that I was going here to go to the bathroom.
This is the ladies' room. Oh, my. That's what you do.
Why am I in here? I already pooped my pants.
It's literally.
That's John.
I get confused.
What a waste of a few steps.
Yeah.
Start checking my
Who
TikTok,
told me to
and I'm
come
just like,
here?
holy crap! I should sit down.
Got
Too
these out of
late.
order.
Better luck next time.
Anyway, this podcast is not. This is why we should film the intro and outro right after the podcast, a little bit more focused. But
no.
We knew Steven deserved a good intro and an outro. I
And that's why
appreciate
we
him
gave him
stopping by.
this.
We appreciate him
We
stopping by
saved
the
the poop
shop.
jokes for last.
Yeah.
All right. We do know Steven. That's a good thing.
Oh goodness!
We know Jeremy can start fights at Sam Bush concerts.
And check out Dark Shadow Records. He's got some great artists on his
Yes.
roster.
Yes.
Some of our favorites. We could do a whole podcast of just his artists being our guests because he got some great ones on there. Becky being our
Yeah, we
second ever podcast.
Second ever podcast. You're right.
Oh,
All right. Well, there it is. That was a podcast. There will
Hope
be
you enjoyed.
another. Hopefully
Check us
next
out.
week. If
If we
not
don't get
next week,
canceled.
then try the next week after that. Don't forget,
I think you
Do
get
like and
notified, put on the
subscribe.
notifications on wherever you're listening to this podcast. It'll tell you when there's a new
like and
episode.
subscribe. Rate us on all your podcasts.
Share it. That makes
Share
a
this.
difference.
Make it bigger.
Don't
Make
be
it blow
selfish.
up.
Don't like I know a secret podcast that you guys don't know and it's great.
Yeah, that's
Share it
rude.
with people.
It's rude. Come on, people. All right. See you next time.
Take me away.
The Acoustic Shoppe Knows People, handmade by Trent Pruitt, Hinkley Hinkleston, and Jason Chapman for the Acoustic Shoppe.
Theme song written and performed by Ofer Koren.
And please remember to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.